Right, boys, we are back for the full breakdown of 330. Now I'm going to give you the full card breakdown and the best bets right after this, but at the minute I'm going to go fully break down this card, so let's get down to it. Right, we'll start with the first fight of the night. Jemiah Wells versus Mikhail Orabai. Now I had notes on this. I think they're here. Give me 1 minute. I read out a few key things that I noticed from a few fights from both them, but I don't think there's a lot here. I do think Wells versus Grimbo is maybe the best kind of comparison of this, because Mikhail Orabai will have the reach advantage here, and it is something that will kind of suit this fight. Grimbo actually started very well. Grimbo got him down. Grimbo got in top him very easily. He got back up very well by YMLs, and then his submission threat is something that is very scary. If you decide to dive in on him, he will try and grab a guillotine or a choke and will make you retreat or try and make some sort of difference. To me, I didn't think Wells was great inside the fight. I thought he came back into it. I kind of saw Chris Grimbo done three Grimbo things and kind of, he gassed himself. He didn't really look the best inside the octagon at that time. It was one of those ones where I think Jemiah Wells is the very much the Therese Finney build. He's 5'9" and just kind of all muscle, but he can gas pretty quickly. On the Mikhail Orabai side, Mikhail Orabai is one of those fighters that doesn't have brilliant striking. I know he knocked out Jack Hermanson by hitting him like on the back of the ear, and look, Jack Hermanson, fair enough. But to me, I do believe that he can get a takedown pretty quickly inside his first round and get a sub. I do believe that Jemiah Wells is very compromised in a lot of spots on the ground. I think he got very lucky to get up against Therese Grimbo. I think in the circumstances of a Mikhail Orabai getting on top of you, the way he sucks you in and the way that he will be able to get a rear naked choke or a submission, I will have to go with Mikhail Orabai to get a submission inside his first fight. The sub threat of Jemiah Wells is there, I won't argue that, but I do believe that Mikhail Orabai is definitely the better option here, and I do believe that Mikhail Orabai is, well, obviously he's 99%. I think he gets a first round sub, and we will move ahead. We will now go into Neil Magny versus Ramaz Brahami, I think so he says his name, Bramini. Yeah, I'm going to go with the crafty vet. I'm going to look at this more in a normal sense, but I am feeling Neil Magny. I will explain why as we get into it. I think Magny looked a bit slower in his loss against, of course, Yasser Azarov, but at the same time, Yasser Azarov is now 2-0. He's submitted Joel Alvarez as well. He's 28-1 in MMA. It was a very, very good submission, but I do also think Neil Magny had his highlights in that fight. Neil Magny is someone that can definitely land quite a few good shots and get you stumbling. Then once he gets you stumbling, once he gets on your back, he is hard to get off. He is really a crafty vet. If he gets you in a bad position, his submissions is always there. His submission game's very, very good. To me, I do think Neil Magny can take this. On the other side, I do think Ramaz Brahami's submission is very, very good. His submission game is a bit scary. He'll have the speed and the feet here with okay striking. Once it hits the mat, his choke game and his actual grappling game is very good. His Oster Vandenfield one was very, very good. He does get taken down a bit easily, but I do believe that is to also let up some guillotines. He did lose his most recent fight against Siriano. He beat Vanderfield, Goff and Mickey Gall. That isn't the greatest roster of wins either. They're all finishes, but they're not great. Neil Magny has beaten Jake Matthews and Alessio De Santos. Great finish on Alessio De Santos and a brilliant submission from the Darce. And he's lost to Carlos Prates and Michael Morales, of course, two killers. To me, I do think there's danger from the sub side here. I would nearly just take a sub inside this fight, but I will go with Neil Magny. I will go with the crafty vet. I think Neil Magny will be able to take him down, control him quite a bit, stay out of range with the submissions, threat, and possibly be able to stand back up, get him wobbled, get him down, and finish him in back position like he did against Alessio De Santos. We will then move ahead to Rafael Tobias versus Lucas Fernando. On the surface, Rafael Tobias is not great. I won't call him terrible because I don't think he is. I think he's someone that loops a lot of strikes. He's someone that doesn't really land properly. If his shots go straight, they're powerful and he can wobble people. We saw that on the Contender Series against Gerald de Oliveira. Very strange submission, but he did get him very, very well in the feet. He wobbled him a few different times. He had him in danger. it's just the striking doesn't look great. He kind of looks like the Great Khali, in my honest opinion. He kind of walks around like that. His striking's really weird. He just kind of swings for the sake of it. Even if you're not in range, he's just going to swing at you. Very strange. On the flip side to Lucas Fernando, his Philip Fatu finish was good, but also Philip Latu doesn't look very good. Lira Santos also didn't look great. Pedro didn't look great, and Asmir Bozakov, he looked great inside the first maybe round and a half, and then he just started to gas. Bazarov took over, of course. Asmir Bazarov has been very, very good inside the UFC, so there is no shock with that. He has the crazy reach advantage here, Lucio, but he does fight a lot of middleweight. I'm not sure about the whole weight difference and him coming up to 205. I'm not sure the power carries. In my opinion, I do think that this is very loose on Lucas Fernando. I'm not very confident on it. I don't think that he's really that much better. I don't think his grappling's too much better. I don't think his wrestling is too much better. I think Tobias might have the edge on that. But I will go with Lucas Fernando to be able to land some straight shots and take a decision. I don't think he's going to be able to knock him out. I do think he will probably be able to beat the Great Khali in defeat. So hopefully that happens and he wins it by decision. Next, moving to Vicente Luque versus Tyson Gore. This one's really strange to me because I have no idea how Tyson Gore is, the odds he is even in middleweight, even with Vicente Luque moving up. Again, I know his last fight was in middleweight against Kevin Gastelum. Yoel Alvarez, Holland. The Tice Grimbo one is one that I'd like to highlight here because Tyson Gore is someone who I don't know, I don't think is great, to be honest. I don't think he's the greatest person. I think he's a very dangerous sub-threat and definitely is okay at striking. But to me, Vicente Luque is just the Darce choke master. I've said this before and I'll say this again. If this hits the mat, I can see a Darce choke coming from Vicente Luque. I do believe that Vicente Luque is the faster grappler here. Maybe not the better striker at this current stage in his career. Going up 15 pounds, he's getting older. It's definitely a fair enough thing. He's 34 and 32. He does seem like he should be older at this point, but he isn't. Surprisingly, they're about 186, 1 inch reach advantage to Vicente Luque. I'll go with the Silent Assassin here, and I will go with a Darce choke in round 1 from the Silent Assassin. I do think he finishes this pretty quickly. And we'll move ahead to Dante Johnson versus Eric McCann. This is a very interesting one because Dante Johnson is quite a small middleweight. He's 5'8", fighting 6 foot. His only range reach advantage. Almost 10 years in the difference in age. Dante Johnson's beaten Cody Brundage, Dumas, and Darian Albin. He's beaten Rafael Favera, he's lost to Sangor in a great fight, and he's beaten Cody Brundage by split decision. He lost to Nassan Rozabayev by right hook. A very interesting one here, because even though I have notes, I don't really think they're very kind of worth looking at. I think Makhachev is a very, 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 very tough person to take out from the octagon. He's not someone that will roll over at any real point. I still think there's a bit to kind of question about Dante Johnson because I don't think he looked great against Cody Brundage. Anyone watching this video could submit Dumas at this point. This man is just here to get money and will fall at any real chance. You could probably pay him 100 quid and he'd probably come into the octagon and just fall over and tap. I mean, physically he tapped to a choke that wasn't even in. He tapped to a choke that was half in because he just wanted to get out of there. I do think Eric McCann is definitely the better striker inside this battle, but it's hard to know can he keep up on his feet against Dante Johnson because of his wrestling. If Dante Johnson's able to wrestle, obviously, for 15 minutes, then it's a decision for Dante Johnson. I'll go with Dante Johnson by decision here. I think that he'll just be able to out-wrestle him. I do think McCann is a tough person, and this card can definitely flip. McCann is definitely a very live underdog, in my opinion, but I will go with Dante Johnson just to be able to eke it out with wrestling. Next, moving to Charles Johnson versus Eduardo Chapelon. Chapelon is 15-2. Chapelon is fighting mostly on the regional scene and the contender series around, obviously, Brazil. He has looked pretty decent there. He's quite quick on the feet. He has great striking. Grappling is a few holes, but I will go with Energy here. I do believe that Energy is probably the best gatekeeper of flyweight to be able to keep someone who's unranked and someone new in the UFC kind of out of the rankings. I do believe that Charles Johnson is the man to be able to do this. I will go with Charles Johnson takes by decision. I don't think he's going to be able to knock him out. I do believe that Eduardo might choke underneath the lights. I do think Charles Johnson will probably just use his superior grappling here and his experience to be able to get, grind out a 15-minute decision. I will go with Charles Johnson to take this one, even though I do think Chaplin has very, very good hands. His left and right hooks are very quick and very powerful, but I do believe that Charles Johnson will be able to stay on his feet, be able to find more than likely just more from a veteran realistically in 15 minutes and be able to take this by decision. Next, we're moving to Shidi Ochungwa versus Shidi Nachangwu Bang Bang versus Joel Alvarez. Okay, look, I think about 2 months ago I would have been crazy on Joel Alvarez after I lost to Yusra Azarov. I'm not sure 100%, but I will still go with Joel Alvarez here. I do think Shidi just looks very, very slow. He looked very, very slow in his Carlos Leol fight and Jedic Matthews submission. His record coming up here isn't great. A split decision for Royce McCree, even though I do like Skeletor, he isn't brilliant. Jared Gooden decision's fine. I know his finish of Alessio De Santos kind of got everything started. Joel Alvarez has obviously got the decision over Santa Luque. He finished Jar Close, Elvis Browner, and Mark Stessi years ago. At 170, I do think the better fighter here is Joel Alvarez. He is the quicker fighter, he's the better grappler, he's the better striker. He probably gets this done pretty early. I will say Joel Alvarez gets this done probably with a first round stoppage. I just don't think Shidi really matches up to him anymore. I think Shidi's too slow now at this point. I think his grappling is not something that has improved too much as he's gotten older, like a lot of other fighters. I do think he makes some silly decisions still on the ground, trying to get up, even with the experience he now has. I'll go with Joel Alvarez to take this. I'll just go to first round finish. I'm not going to say exactly what it's going to be, but then we move into one of the worst fights on the whole card. Just to the simple fact that Edson Barboza shouldn't be allowed to fight anymore. Whoever this commission is, Philadelphia, they should have stopped this fight, because Edson Barboza is gone even past withered. He's almost a corpse at this point. You're basically just bringing the corpse of Edson Barboza in the weigh-in. If you know what I'm talking about, the man looked genuinely dead in the scales, and look, I think Esteban Rabios takes this for the first round knockout. I'm not even going to argue this, to be honest. This will be done in probably the first 3 minutes, because the main fight I want to highlight is Edson Barboza versus Julian Turner. He basically gave up. His chin is gone, his mental's gone. He's like the end of Gilbert Burns, another sad case, and maybe the end of Tony Ferguson. Edson Barboza's leaning that way. Edson Barboza's last realistic win that looked anywhere near good was Sadiq Youssef nearly 3 years ago. And yeah, Rabios will take this pretty simply. There's no need for me to break this down like crazy. Next, move into Master Abdalik versus Dustin Stuzos or Stastos. Look, Elderly to be these odds 700 minus 700 is fucking crazy. He's very lucky that he is fighting not a great competition. The man has lost to nearly everyone inside the UFC. I won't argue that I do believe that Masir Abdalik will win this. He's a better striker, and that's it. I don't think there's any real anything else between these. I don't think there's grappling. I don't think there's anything else. He's a better striker. I think he'll be able to take this by decision, and we will move ahead to Kuke Fernandez versus Julian Turner. The Tarantula's been in a weird spot, okay, because he's 15-9. He did beat Barboza recently. Lost to Anicio Bahamundos and Money Meccano. He's only beaten King Green, and then he lost obviously a very, very fun fight to Dan Hooker. On the flip side, Kiko Fernandez has been able to beat Harry Hardwick and Gadzem Kadadze by decision and Muhammad Yahya. Kiko Fernandez, I think, has a bit of an edge here with leg kicks. I do think Julian Turner's always struggled with leg kicks. He is a very good stand-up kickboxer, but his legs are very skinny. He's someone that will struggle with leg kicks. He is someone that struggles with grappling. He's someone that struggles with, realistically, when the pressure gets going on him. I don't think has the mental for the sport anymore, being honest. I do think it's one of those things where he is someone likely to fold while put under a lot of pressure, and I do think Kiko Fernandez will be able to do this. I think he'll be able to take him out probably in round 1 or 2. I won't say that I think Julian Turner's that bad. I just don't think Julian Turner has the brain anymore. I think this is a way to get Kiko Fernandez massively up the rankings. I do think it's going to work. I think Kiko Fernandez comes in and finishes this very quickly, just to the simple fact that I just don't think Julian Turner's there for a fight anymore. I think his mental is cracked. I think he's going to crack, and I don't think he's going to be there. And we'll move into the two title fights. Okay, so we will start Mackenzie Dern versus Gillian Robinson. Neither of these would have touched the belt, obviously, or this would never be a title fight if Sean Bailey was still here. Gillian Robinson's won her last 5. She's beaten Amanda Lemos, Maya Rodriguez, Lunana Parajero, Michelle Watterson, and Piana Valiera. Of course, Mackenzie Dern beat Joanne Jaroba for the title. She beat Amanda Ribas and Lupe Godinez. She lost to Lemos and Amanda Jessica Andrade, may I say. I do think there's an interesting one in this because the only growth that I've seen between these two fighters has come from Mackenzie Dern. I still think Gillian Robinson is still very much the same that she was almost 3 years ago or 4 years ago in their first fight. And she is someone that needs heavy grappling to get things going. She's a very good submission artist, but she needs heavy grappling. She has to get this grappling. No game plan comes up. Mackenzie Dern can actually strike. Now, Mackenzie Dern is very, very good striking. Mackenzie Dern is very, very good wrestling. Mackenzie Dern is someone who's very comfortable setting her back. She has definitely the better submission game between these two. She has the better grappling game. Everything in my eyes points towards Mackenzie Dern here. Unfortunately, I've just seen no actual development inside Gillian Robinson's real game. She hasn't really learned striking. It's okay on the feet, but I mean, against someone who can actually strike like Dern, I think she's in danger, because if she just rushes into it, she has in a lot of her fights, Mackenzie will just knock her out. In my opinion, I think Mackenzie regrabs the title. We have her against Whaley probably sometime next year, and yeah, I'll go with her to take it. And then we'll move into the last fight of the night, of course, Machado Garry versus Islam Makhachev. I don't know what way I said that, but okay, to preface this, I'm Irish. I do not like Ian Garry, and this is why it pains me to say I think Ian Garry wins this fight, because Islam has not fought a proper welterweight. Islam fought JDM because he knew it would be an easy title win, and then even in his lightweights, real title fights, he fought, Alexander Volkanovski, the greatest 145er, not a 155er. Dustin Poirier, the only probably legit 155er he fought. Money McCann on short notice, and then Jack Dana Atlanta. In Ian Garry's side, he's beaten Brel Muhammad, Carlos Prates, unfortunately. Shafkat beat him, and he beat Page and Neil. Now look, there's a few differences and a few weaknesses for both here. I do think Ian Garry can still get caught in the feet. He is someone that almost gets a bit too confident. I think he kind of lacks the finishing instinct, which we saw inside the Jeff Neal and the Neil Magny fight, where both them basically finished and wouldn't finish them. But I do believe that Islam on the other side, unfortunately, has a 5-inch reach disadvantage here. I do believe that this is something that I think will play a massive part inside this fight. I do think Ian is possibly able to neutralise Islam's grappling late into the fight. I do believe the first 2 rounds Islam gets a few takedowns, maybe doesn't do a lot with them, but then Ian starts to take over with his range and his striking prowess and his realistically IQ inside the sport. I don't like Ian, I never have, and this isn't Ireland versus Dagestan that's trying to push Ian. Machado Garry is not Irish. It doesn't matter what you say. He's tried his best to be Brazilian for the past 5 months. But I still do believe that this is Islam's hardest challenge, and I don't think Islam breaks the belt rule. I do think that he will get early success in the wrestling. I do think the striking might expose a lot from him here. I do think Ian Garry's the better striker on the feet. I do believe this will probably play like the first Volk fight, where he'll get caught in the feet a few different times to get taken down late onto the fight, because he's going to gas a lot trying to take Ian down, and I think Ian will actually stuff a lot of them. I do think this could be Sean Strickland-esque against Chimaev, that a lot of people didn't predict besides but me realistically, but I do believe that this is one that Islam is going to lose. I do think he will genuinely struggle against Ian Garry, and it pains me to say that. But if you did enjoy this full card breakdown, and sadly we get to see Ian Garry win a belt tomorrow, then hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.